All right, so this week in Pax Dei, we got the first hotfix patch for the minor update R46. It did a lot of performance improvements and a lot of small bug fixes as well. And then we have a bunch of new identified or known issues that we're going to talk about today and a little bit more. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of Pax Dei and Pax Dei related content out there. I'm Eltari the Professional Gamer, and this is another episode of the Pax Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has come out in Pax Dei over the last week. So like I said, this week we did have a little bit of a small week when it comes to new information. We got a new kind of small hot fix that actually corrected a lot of performance related issues that some players were experiencing. I had a couple of people actually reach out to me saying, hey, Eltari, it looks like the R46 patch, when it first came out, there were actually some visual downgrades that happened, and it seems like a lot of that has now been corrected with this most recent hotfix patch. We're going to talk about that, and then we also have a bunch of new known issues with the patch. These are things that they're working on addressing, fixing. So it's going to be a nice little quick one here. And before we head on over to the official Discord, where we're going to take a look at these known issues and the hotfix patch, I just want to say a special thank you to all of our channel members who are financially supporting the channel. Literally, we couldn't do all the cool things that we do in the community without your help. So thank you again for everyone who is choosing to support us in that way. And for everyone else who is looking for a way to support us, all you have to do is hit that like button and subscribe. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on the channel by the end of this year, and the only way that we can do that is if you haven't hit that subscribe button. You go right down there and you hit that subscribe button. That's how we do it. But also sharing this video with any of your friends who might be interested in learning more and staying up to date with all things Pax Dei. It's what we cover on the channel all the time. Like I said, though, we are going to head over to the official Discord to take a look at these known issues as well as the quick little hotfix patch, talk about that a little bit. So I will go ahead and see y'all over there. All right, and here we are on Pax Dei's official Discord server, and the first thing I wanted to talk about today is just the patch notes that came out. This came out about a day ago as of time of recording, and this patch note actually, it did a lot of improvements. It seems small, but it did a lot of improvements that were noticed by players over the last week when it comes to performance. Now, the one that I noticed the most was actually, it had to do with right down here, the improved high resolution texture loading. Effectively, before the patch, I was able to run the experimental character detail slider all the way up at high. And when I went and did one of our first dungeon runs as a group in the new patch, I had to bring it all the way down to low, something that I was not expecting to have to do, because it literally improved my frames by about 30 frames when I had so many people in the screen on my field of view. So that was a pretty big improvement. Now that has been fixed, we can go all the way back up to the high character detail without having to do it. And this week I should have some dungeon footage. In fact, speaking of that, I had a couple of people from just down in the comments, as well as reaching out on our official Discord for the Professional Gamer, ask, hey, would it be something possible if the channel would be able to post kind of guides or just run-throughs of all the various dungeons? So if that's something that you guys are interested in seeing and learning more about, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see just full run-throughs of dungeons, maybe even with our comms and how all of that works. We in the Golden City, we run pretty effective dungeons and we get through most of them pretty cleanly as well. So it might be something that y'all are interested in, but let me know down in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see more of. But with that being said, other performance and stability things that have been improved upon with this particular patch, they did fix an issue that was increasing hitching in specific zones and then throwing players to lobby. I did notice being thrown to the lobby a couple of times. One thing that I've also noted specifically with this update is just how long it takes to load into specific zones, specifically the wilderness region. It took over 30 seconds at one point in time to load all of the shaders for that. So hopefully that's something that they address and fix. I do know that this week, I know we already updated to 5.6 on UE, but with UE 5.8, they've seen a like 65% reduction in shaders that need to be loaded with 5.8. So we just got to 5.6, but maybe 5.8 is right down the way for us, and we'll be able to get even shorter load times with the shaders, but also getting that improved visual fidelity and decreased, increased performance, and not a decrease in our frames anymore. But with that being said, that's all that we have for the patch notes, but I wanted to go over and take a look at the known issues. This was published a couple of days ago as of time of recording, and there were a couple of things that really came up for me specifically. And the big ones here mostly being on the combat section, and some of that also has to do with just the Zebians teleporting away when they're mezzed. Mez works really, really well in dungeons right now. Like I'm very happy with where Mez is at. Before the update, Mez was kind of useless, but now it's actually very, very useful. However, there is now this one issue with Zebian Cormorants now that players are using Mez more, that this update finally revealed that Zebian Cormorants were still having a teleporting issue, specifically with their being mezzed, and then when they start to leash, they'll just teleport when they're mezzed. This was an old problem that for the most part was fixed, but it looks like Cormorants still have it. Additionally, hard CC spells have started to behave kind of inconsistently when interacting with a mezzed NPC. Basically, there's a status update that's, I think, not happening when doing anything with a mezzed enemy. But then we also have this triggering an attack skill before the cooldown expires while blocking causes combat inputs to break. So this is a big one that a lot of players have noticed recently. In fact, I had a lot of people down in the comments of our last video of the PAX Friday review talk about mentioning this. So I figured might as well mention it here too. It's a known issue on Mainframe's side, and basically what it is when you are trying to use an attack skill before it being expired, then it basically turns off all of your skills. And the only way to really fix it, I think, is if you log out and log back in. The moral of the story is don't go hitting your combat keys before a cooldown has happened. A lot of people are kind of tapping their keys to get it as efficient or as effective as possible. That is unfortunately what's causing this bug, and then it turns off your skills. If you're a tank, that can really upset things. So being being good at making sure that you're not using an ability unless it's actually triggerable and you can actually use it, that discipline is going to come in favor for you until this is fixed. And like I said, it's a known issue, but it's not a fixed issue yet. And then another big one is armor can be unequipped during combat. That is not supposed to be allowed. Another big one is some NPCs will attack trees and inanimate geometries instead of navigating around an obstacle. That's kind of a funny one. Another thing is, and this is a big one for all of you builders out there, if you're placing a large Anatolian ivy, make sure if you're going to place it, you place it in a place where you're actually comfortable with it being, because if you're not, you're going to have to, in order to destroy it, you're going to have to destroy the wall that's behind it before you can actually destroy the Anatolian ivy. So that's a problem that they're working on fixing. It's just not complete yet. Now, additionally, a player cannot place a new plot with Grace if they've released a frozen one until they change zones. It's a kind of a small one, but definitely one worth noting. The garden set recipes are incorrectly available at the basic carpenter's bench. It should be at just the carpenter's bench that they're available. And then crafting stations and processing crafters have excessively slow loading and interaction time. So if for whatever reason you're going into a charcoal kiln, for example, and it's not loading very quick, it's taking extra time right now, and they need to fix that. And then the additionally crafted items lack labels in the butcher's workbench. There's a couple of UI related issues, and that has to do with like the escape button in the top right corner of the Miracle UI is not functioning. So if you go to hit it, you can't do it. You have to actually hit escape basically. A couple of other ones, compass is not updated in real time when switching corpse visibility. The character's portrait is not present in the make alderman pop-up window, and there's a couple of other clan setting related things. There's some animation visuals they're working on correcting too, and hair texture appearing low quality and plastic-like. That's a funny one. The other one that I think a couple of players have noticed, when you're in F10 and then you come back from F10, you can just, your entire character model becomes invisible. Or in my case, I had the hair stay, but everything else disappeared. That was kind of funny, but the best way to fix that right now is just to log out and log back in, unfortunately. And then in terms of performance, the game is freezing briefly when opening and closing the settings menu. That I think has to do with it's reloading some stuff, or it's refreshing the world. But it is causing kind of a hiccup or a hitch when you actually load the settings. And then the game client can crash when you're entering into Lioness, so you have to reload in. And then there's a couple of hitches that keep on increasing in specific zones, with then some other miscellaneous like sound effects and other localizations that haven't been updated with the new UI as well. So there's quite a bit of known issues, but these should be getting fixed over the next couple of weeks. And then after they are done, we will probably have to look forward to the wonderful, very exciting Homestead update that should be probably coming out in the next couple of months over the summertime. So that's something to look forward to. But in the meantime, we do have this new update. I think that this update is actually the groundwork update for the Homestead verse 6. And I'm very much so looking forward to that, but also looking forward to all of the other wonderful things that are going on in the world of Pax Dei. With that being said, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, if you guys are interested in learning more, I guess, about dungeons and seeing all of the runs, I am playing around with the idea of having an entire series that is quite literally just us going through every single dungeon, maybe hitting every single chest so everyone can see where it is, maybe even going so far as seeing every named mob that can spawn inside of the dungeon and using that as a series. I feel like we're at a point where the dungeons might be stable enough where they're not going to be changing all of the time. To be honest, the reason why we haven't done a lot of those kinds of videos on the channel yet has been because those take a lot of work. And if things are going to get rapidly changed and updated by mainframe, I don't want to put the effort in to go and do that, just to have to go and do it again in short order. But now it feels, with the aggro update and everything like that being done now, that the dungeons should be in a relatively stable spot, with all of the enemy mobs kind of being in the place where they should, loot boxes being in the place where they should. Everything feels like it's a little bit more stable and worthwhile putting the effort in to actually go and record all of these dungeon runs and create a dungeon running series for all of you guys. So if that is something that you are interested in, let me know in the comments down below, and we might do it. We might do it in the very near future. In fact, we might do it regardless of whether or not you guys want me to or not, just because it sounds like a fun thing. But I obviously do love the input, and if you all have any other ideas for videos that you want to see in the world of Pax Dei, then let me know as well, and I'd be glad to do it on the channel, because at the end of the day, we love Pax Dei. And with that being said, if you want to help the channel out, again, the best way to do that is to hit that like button, share this video with any of your friends who are interested in staying up to date with all things Pax Dei, and hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified whenever we come out with new Pax Dei or Pax Dei related material. Until the next video, I'm Eltari the Professional Gamer.